The second season of 100 Girlfriends is finally here. After a year apart, the protagonist Rentaro and his girlfriends are as crazy as ever. They're already experiencing the 7-year itch, even though it's only been 1 year since the first season ended. Wakari has already devised a plan to combat this relationship fatigue. Then, Senior Kusuri steps in to mix up a potion to defeat the boredom. However, the concoction explodes on the rooftop, and Rentaro rushes to the scene to find a thick cloud of smoke. The wives all exclaim in unison, "Our bodies have swapped!" Due to the potion's effects running amok, their souls have left their bodies and entered others. Amid the confusion and arguing, Rentaro can't tell who is who. Hearing this, Wakari, who is now in Nano's body, gets an idea. If Rentaro can't recognize her, she can do whatever she wants without being noticed, right? She immediately stumbles into Rentaro's arms and takes the opportunity to flirt heavily. To her surprise, Rentaro immediately calls out her name. Then, Kusuri, feeling playful, doesn't wait for Rentaro to guess and reveals herself. Just then, Kusuri feels the urge to pee but forgets that her current body isn't wearing a diaper. Just as she's about to relieve herself, Wakari, noticing the signs, quickly pushes her towards the restroom. Rentaro then turns his attention to Kusuri's body, realizing from the crazy reaction that it must be Hahari. Meanwhile, Hahari is busily enjoying the assets of her temporary body, explaining that she's just trying to burn fat to reduce the size. That's so tsundere, definitely Karane. Meanwhile, Karane, now in another body, just smiles and keeps watching Rentaro silently. Nano, in Shizuka's body, is the first to notice and hands a phone to Shizuka, now in Karane's body. Now that they've figured out who is who, the question arises, how can they return to their original bodies? According to ancient texts, the basic method involves bumping foreheads. Kusuri and Shizuka try this out. Hahari, the only adult present, suggests the most fairy tale solution. Only a prince's kiss can work miracles. She rushes to Rentaro, demands a kiss, and even offers him a lap pillow. Despite being in the youngest body, she radiates a maternal glow that almost overwhelms Rentaro. Then, as a reward for her good child, motherly Hahari leans in to kiss Rentaro's face. As their lips meet, a strong light emanates from the contact point, and Hahari's soul actually emerges from Kusuri's body. So, the group took turns kissing Rentaro. Nano, always efficient, stepped forward first. Using Shizuka's body, she looked emotionlessly at Rentaro, then tiptoed and pinched his chin to kiss him. Kusuri was third, and just as she embraced Rentaro from behind, she felt a comforting sensation, as if something was about to leak out. Reminded by Rentaro, she hurriedly kissed him. By the halfway point, Rentaro was nearly overwhelmed. Next was the animal-like Karane, or rather, Shizuka inside her body. Shy Shizuka naturally waited for Rentaro to initiate the kiss. Finally, it was the turn of tsundere Hahari, actually Karane in the body. Rentaro found this Karane adorable, and even when she playfully hit his chest, he only felt happiness. Eagerly, he kissed the huffy Karane. After the other 5 had fainted, Wakari finally had her moment alone with Rentaro. Overwhelmed by emotions, Nano couldn't resist, and Wakari, using this body, confessed her feelings to Rentaro deeply. After their kiss, the 6 souls swiftly returned to their respective bodies, and poor Rentaro, greatly shocked, almost collapsed. Yet, he still preferred everyone as they usually were, soothing the wives worried about entering a rut with just a few words. But 6 wives were hardly enough for Rentaro. Today, he rarely went to the convenience store for lunch, planning to buy egg toast. Unexpectedly, his hand touched a girl's next to him. In that moment of eye contact, both felt a tingling sensation. Yes, another destined person appeared. This girl wore a middle school uniform and looked tough. Rentaro let her have the bread. However, the girl had to leave temporarily because she forgot her wallet, but Rentaro heard her stomach growl, so he shared half of his bread with her. The girl was reluctant to accept food from a stranger, but was too hungry to refuse. After eating, she seemed like a different person. She told Rentaro that she digests food very quickly, always feels irritable because of hunger, and can't help herself when she sees food she likes. She hadn't meant to be harsh on Rentaro. Rentaro understood, explaining that it's easy to think about food no matter what he sees or hears. The girl always used a hood and headphones to block out sights and sounds, only lowering them when eating. She wanted to fully experience the aroma of the food and the sound it made when bitten. Rentaro thought this little sister was quite well behaved, so he couldn't resist asking her name as she was leaving. The girl immediately showed a look of disgust, followed by her stomach growling again. She hurriedly left, not wanting Rentaro to see her embarrassed by her heart fluttering. The next day at lunchtime, the girl really wanted a fried pork cutlet sandwich. When she got to the snack bar, they were sold out. Just then, she ran into Rentaro again. Learning she wanted the fried pork cutlet sandwich, he told her the high school section was also sold out. The girl planned to look for the sandwich outside the school, but when Rentaro kindly offered advice, she snapped at him. Realizing her reaction, she immediately ran off. She spent the whole lunch break searching without finding a fried pork cutlet sandwich, sinking into a mood of irritation and self-loathing. She knew it wasn't right to take out her frustration on others, but she couldn't help it. Now, she had treated someone who had been kind to her badly. The girl felt she had no redeeming qualities and walked back to school dejected. However, at the entrance, she saw Rentaro, bruised and battered, greeting her. He then took her to the cooking classroom. The fried pork cutlet sandwich he served was handmade by Rentaro. Worried she might refuse it, he had thoughtfully split it into 2 portions, just like the day before. The girl couldn't resist the sandwich and was surprised by how delicious it was. Seeing her eat so happily, Rentaro felt relieved. Because he lacked the proper ingredients and time, he had bought a burger at the snack bar, fried the burger patty, and used the bread and cabbage from the pork cutlet sandwich to assemble it. The injuries on his face and hands were burns from the oil that splattered while frying. The girl asked Rentaro why he was so kind to her, especially since she felt she was worthless. Rentaro responded that he found her appreciation for food and the way she savored it very charming. He suggested that her tendency to get hungry easily actually made her love food more, and sharing meals with someone who enjoys eating makes the food taste better. He added, "Isn't it amazing that you can bring happiness to those around you?" Hearing such praise for the first time, the girl was instantly captivated by Rentaro and confessed her feelings on the spot. Rentaro didn't hesitate to accept her confession. The girl then told Rentaro her name was Kurumi, and she was in her 3rd year of middle school. However, Kurumi had no idea that Rentaro already had 6 other girlfriends. When Rentaro introduced his new girlfriend to the others, he explained that Kurumi tends to be moody when hungry. Kurumi, still displaying her standoffish demeanor, made it clear she wasn't interested in getting along with anyone other than Rentaro. Nano agreed with this sentiment, but she was with the group because she liked them. Then, Rentaro's other girlfriends gathered around his new girlfriend, jokingly asking, "Whose harem is this anyway?" Following this, Rentaro announced that a gourmet battle carnival was happening that weekend. The prizes included not only a cash reward, but also special ice cream made by a 3-star chef. He expressed his desire to participate with everyone. "I've never seen such a bizarre food contest before." The beautiful hostess brazenly displayed her sexy photos on the big screen, making it seem like a different kind of food contest. Kurumi, however, was indifferent as she was only interested in the actual food. Rentaro hoped the contest would help Kurumi connect more with everyone else. Once the hostess's photos were done, the preliminaries finally started. The challenge was to see who could eat the most rice, with various side dishes available, though they didn't count towards the score. Kusuri was excited to compete, but Kurumi remained cool, stating she would participate in both the prelims and the main event, regardless of others. This irritated the quick-tempered Karan, prompting Rentaro to quickly step between the two, deciding it was best if he and Kurumi competed together. As soon as they started, Kurumi was distracted by the side dishes. Rentaro, not wanting his girlfriend to feel bad and knowing side dishes were a distraction, still brought her fried pork cutlets. Kurumi enjoyed them a lot, which led others to mock her, calling her foolish. Rentaro was furious and wanted to punch them, but Wakari stopped him in time. While holding him back, Wakari took advantage of Rentaro, which Karani had to intervene in. Everyone then noticed how happy Kurumi looked and started to grab side dishes themselves. By assimilating the enemy, Rentaro ended up being the only one left eating just rice. Kurumi digested the side dishes quickly without much strain on her stomach, giving their team a significant advantage. Despite Rentaro's stomach already at its limit, each bowl of rice served by his girlfriends tasted different and delicious, making him want more. The girlfriends were thrilled by his words, and both sides were equally love-struck. Rentaro and Kurumi continued to eat enthusiastically. When the time was up, surprisingly, they only ranked 3rd. The 2nd place went to their old acquaintance, the delinquent gang, and the 1st place was even more surprising. It was won by a person competing alone, who was also the current reigning world champion of food contests. Rentaro and his team realized they faced a serious challenger. The preliminary round was just about eating rice, but the main event was about to start, with the first item on the menu being bubble tea. Rentaro ate too much rice earlier and couldn't compete this time. Kurumi lacked confidence in the others until Shizuka stepped up. Kurumi and Shizuka joined the contest together. The top-ranked sumo wrestler just poured his drink into his mouth, while the other 2 teams chewed pearls frantically. After 10 minutes, everyone's jaws were struggling, except for the sumo wrestler and Shizuka. Rentaro soon realized why Shizuka was so good. Her small mouth meant smaller bites, increasing her chewing per meal, making her jaw well-trained for chewing. Shizuka, constantly chewing, looked adorable like a small animal, sparking maternal instincts in Rentaro and Hahari. The outcome of the first round was quickly announced. Rentaro and his girlfriend's team came in second, still no match for the sumo wrestler. Next up was a fast sushi eating contest. They sent Nano, the most efficient eater. The contest was painful for Kurumi, as it meant not savoring the food. Luckily, her teammate Nano didn't need to chew, matching the speed of the sumo wrestler. Nano and the sumo wrestler reached for the last sushi at the same time, but the sumo wrestler had the upper hand as Nano struggled to keep up. The delinquent gang was catching up, nearly reaching the 10th sushi. Nano then ran up to the tower where the host was, driven by a survival instinct that makes creatures eat more under life-threatening conditions. Nano, afraid of heights, intentionally went to the highest point to meet expectations and ate the last sushi there. Her beautiful white hair shimmered in the light, resembling a princess in a tower. Finally, Nano swallowed the last sushi, and Rentaro rushed to bring his acrophobic girlfriend down. The third round was extremely spicy Mapo tofu. Rentaro's team sent Karani and Kusuri, known for their spice tolerance. The contestants faced unprecedented difficulty, and the sumo wrestler even quit the contest. Kusuri, with her strong resistance to intense substances, persisted until the end. The fourth round was a dessert challenge. Hahari and Wakari, mother and daughter, teamed up but were weak competitors. Wakari started playing mind games, worrying aloud about weight gain from the sweets, unintentionally demoralizing even her own team. In the end, only the sumo wrestler continued to eat voraciously. Karain laughed it off and countered with a spell of her own, telling them that fat can turn into breasts too. Thus, the mother and daughter duo started eating voraciously again. Rentaro's team still came in second. Rentaro happily patted each of his girlfriends on the head. Kurumi, without realizing it, began to change her views about them. The leader of the delinquent gang couldn't understand how they could eat so much. Rentaro seriously declared that it was the power of love. The final round finally arrived, but Rentaro was still patting his girlfriend's stomachs because they were all at their limits. Without the patting, they might have thrown up. The last contest was a ramen eating competition, offering double points, so there was still a chance to overtake the sumo wrestler. Only Kurumi could compete for their team. Initially, the leader of the delinquent gang was alone, but her gang members decided to join in midway to share her struggles. Unfortunately, they were soon carried away by ambulances, leaving only Kurumi and the sumo wrestler in the championship race. Unknown to everyone, the sumo wrestler had a hidden tube and storage tank under his large body. The food he pretended to eat went into this tank, a cheating device that Kurumi couldn't outmatch with her digestion. Indeed, by the 22nd bowl, she stopped eating. However, Kurumi refused to give up, moved by everyone's efforts to eat with her. If she had trusted them from the start and saved her appetite for the finals, she could have easily eaten more of the delicious ramen. Kurumi, in tears, didn't notice that her teammates had already taken their seats at the table. They would take over from here. This was the spirit of teamwork. Moved by this display of love, Kurumi picked up her chopsticks again, determined to continue the battle with everyone. Under everyone's relentless defense, the sumo wrestler's storage tank finally filled up. He had no choice but to start eating for real. With little time left in the contest, both competitors frantically stuffed ramen into their stomachs. The scene was chaotic, with both Kurumi and the sumo wrestler down to their last bite. Who would manage to swallow it? At this moment, Rentaro stopped Kurumi and whispered something in her ear. As the host counted down, Kurumi fed the last bite of ramen to Rentaro, who swallowed it at the same time as the sumo wrestler. However, the sumo wrestler immediately vomited everything he had just eaten. It turned out both were at their limits, but Rentaro couldn't bring himself to spit out the food his girlfriend had fed him. Thus, Rentaro and his girlfriends won the competition. They joyfully indulged in delicious ice cream afterward. Kurumi mustered the courage to apologize to her sisters, only to find that they had already accepted her. Each scooped some ice cream and offered it to her. Later, Kurumi found Rentaro at school to make good on a promise he made during the finals. He had said that if Kurumi fed him, she could eat whatever she wanted after the contest. Rentaro naturally wouldn't refuse. To his surprise, Kurumi immediately kissed him. Turns out she wanted a taste of his lips.